Hi, welcome back to the Beginner's Guide to Hosting a Website. In this video, we're going to talk about FTP access and getting into your website, getting files uploaded, downloaded, all that sort of fun stuff, and how to do that with your new DreamHost site. So now, first of all, FTP is really, it stands for File Transfer Protocol, and all it is really just you're transferring files from a remote server to your computer or vice versa. So what you'll need for that is what's called a client, an FTP client. And like we talked about in the last video, you can do the web FTP right here, and it's like a built-in client into a website. Or you can download a free client that's excellent, that I love, and that I recommend, and it's in the resources section of this video. So you can actually, I think it's that way, it's to your right, on the right side of the screen, you'll see the resources section, and you'll see downloads over there. And over there, or external links, I think they're called. And over there, you'll see a link for FileZilla client download. And that's what you'll want to click. And like I said, it is a free piece of software. It's open source, so totally free to use. And it's in my opinion, the best FTP client to use out there. That's free anyway. So once you get that installed and working, here's how you're going to get that configured. Let's just go ahead and open it up. So as you can see, I've got it opened up. I've got, over here, I've got my local site, and then over here I have a remote site. And it doesn't show anything because I'm not connected yet. To connect, you're going to need to set up a new connection. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And it does run a little update check. I always keep it up to date. Right now I'm just going to skip that, hit close. And as you can see, I have different sites set up. So let's do new site. And we'll just call this DreamHost test because I want to show you the process of going through this. So the port is always going to be port 21. The host is going to be your server name that your site is on, which I'll show you how to get that information in just a second. So it's basically the server that your site is on, hosted on, .dreamhost.com. So let's find out what that server name is. If we jump back over to DreamHost and we look at our different things that are hosted here, let's just choose this guy right here. This is the one that I set up most recently with using my gratuitous weddings username. So what I can do is actually just click edit right here. Okay, so once I've clicked edit, now I'm gonna see what server this is on. You'll see it right here. It's pretty easy to find. Right where it says run this domain under this user, gratuitous weddings, and in parentheses it says on Tubin, or Tubin, however you pronounce that. That's the server name, Tubin. And that's an easy way to grab your server name if you haven't grabbed it before when you were setting this up. So what I'm going to do is just type that in to my FTP client right here, Tubin, tubin.dreamhost.com. And it's port 21. File transfer protocol encryption, I'm just going to leave it at use explicit, but login type I'm going to say normal, and then I'm going to use my gratuitous. Okay, so I'm going to paste my username there, put my password in, and that's it. So now that I've got that information set in here, I don't really worry about all this stuff, advanced or transfer settings. I'm going to leave it at default. And if you want to learn more about that, you can and do some more research. But really, you just need the default settings. And then instead of connect, I'm going to click OK, and that's going to save those settings. Now, before I go ahead and connect to that new server, I'm going to actually change my view here. I'll show you how to handle that. So right now, you can see we have a window over here on the right, and this is my remote site. So it's going to show everything on the remote server on the right side. And then on the left, it's my local side. So it's going to show whatever's in this local folder, and I can change directories here. And then at the bottom, it's going to show me my queued files. So if I'm transferring files, it's going to show me, like if I'm transferring 100 files and it's taking a while, it shows me what's transferred and what's queued. And then if any are failed, it'll show me them here, or any successful, all the successful will show up here as a log. And then you can, of course, adjust these windows. Like I can make this bigger or smaller. I can make this wider, or that one wider, kind of move that around. Now, when you first open it, it may look a little different than this. I changed my view, and how I did that is up here on the menu. There's, right after File and Edit, there's this thing called View. And then I can change what's visible. So I've turned off Local Directory Tree, Remote Directory Tree, and Message Log. And I did that because I was making another video, and some of those were secure directories I didn't want to reveal in the video. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on message log again, and I'm going to turn on remote directory tree again, and that just lets me see up here the remote or this message log allows me to see what's happening when I go to connect. So if it doesn't connect, it'll tell me the error up here, or while it's connecting, I'll see the status of that connection happening, things like that, and you'll see that take place in just a second here. And then over here, the reason why I turned on this directory tree is this window is only going to show me what's in the directory. Just like you see here, these two files are in that directory, but it's not showing me the whole tree. So here I can actually see the whole directory tree of my remote site, and you'll see that in just a second. So let's go ahead and connect. So the first thing you're going to do is just, now that we've set up our site, just click that little drop down arrow, and you can just click on the name that you saved it as, the connection that you saved it as. So you'll notice when I went to connect, it actually said critical error, could not connect to server, login incorrect. So there's a couple things that could be. It could be that I changed this password just recently and it still hasn't updated in their system, or it could be something else. So let's jump over to DreamHost and take a look. I want to show you something here. So if I click users and then manage users, and you can see I'm going to scroll down to gratuitous weddings. Now you'll notice here it says SFTP. So I'm going to click edit on that. SFTP allows login via SSH file transfer for file transfers only. So I actually want FTP access for this user. So what I want to do is click FTP user, and once that's checked, click Save Changes, and it says successfully. It will take a few minutes to take effect, and that's true. Sometimes it can take a few minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump back over to my FTP client and see if it figured it out yet. Sometimes it is pretty quick. Okay, so it still did not take. Let's just look at the server settings now and see what else we can figure out about it. So we have use explicit. We could use only plain. And then let's look at this. It's file transfer. We do have SSH file transfer available. If we switch to that and click OK, then it works. So it hasn't figured out that it's an FTP account yet. It still thinks it's an SFTP account, which is fine. So if you want to keep it that way, that's totally cool. Otherwise, you want to switch that user account like I did in the user settings to an FTP user before using the FTP settings. And again, that's right here under protocol. So we had file transfer protocol chosen, changed it to SFTP, which is SSH file transfer protocol, and it worked. So once I'm logged in, you'll notice it has me at my username directory, gratuitous weddings. That's my username. And underneath that are two different domains that I have configured for that user to use, the gratuitousweddingplanning.com, and then this other website that I've put in here, which is a real website. And I'm going to go ahead and browse to this real website so you can see the little temporary page that's up there right now. Okay, so I've come over to this page. I put in www.the website, and it comes up and it has the website name is almost here, and it says DreamHost at the bottom. So that's how I know that it is truly looking at DreamHost now. Everything's from my GoDaddy account all the way to DreamHost is communicating and talking the way it should be. So now let's talk about getting some files up here. So right now within that web directory I have three files. There's what's called favicon.gif and .ico. That's an icon file, and that changes what's seen up here in the corner. So if I look at this DreamHost, you see that little moon up there. That's actually the favicon image that they have in their directory for their website. For this website, you can see it's just a little page, a broken or a turned page, and bookmarked page, I guess that is. And the reason for that is I don't have an image here yet that has anything. These are just placeholder images, so there's 0 bytes. They don't really have any data. So I could create my own and upload it, and there's lots of info on the web of how to do that. But for right now, let's just put an index file in here. So right now, the quickstart.html is the only file that's showing, and that's what we're seeing over here on this other page. So let's put an index file up there, and let's pretend that this is our index file. And so what I'm going to do is, on the left side is my local files. I have an analytics file and an index.php file. I can just right click on one of them, or I can select all of them and right click and just do upload. And it's going to upload it straight into the directory that you see here. Okay, so another way of doing that is I can double click this file. If I double click it, it's going to also upload that file. Let's say I want to upload both of those. Right click and upload, and you'll see it down here. It has them queued and it's working on the transfer. And it looks like we're going to time out because it knows now that I'm no longer an SFTP user. So let's go ahead and fix that right now. Okay, so I've logged back in as an FTP user because it kicked me out since I was logged in as SFTP, but I changed the user like you saw me do. So now I'm in the FTP, and you see it looks a little bit different now. It just has a root directory and then my stuff. So here we are, we're logged in. I'm going to upload a couple things. So let's right click on these guys and upload them. There we go. So I have an index file uploaded now. I have an analytics file. And I'm just going to edit this. And this is something cool you can do with this FTP client. You can, while you're on the remote side, you can select a file and right click it and do view/edit. And it opens it up in a notepad, and then you can edit it right there. So I'm just going to select all of this and create something of my own. So I'm just putting the words, "this is a test," and saving it. And if I save it and X out of the notepad, it comes up with this little thing. "File has changed. Would you like to upload it?" And I say yes, and it uploads it back here. Now it still shows it being 3,890, but if I right click and hit refresh, you'll see it changes. Now it's 15. So that's the file size. It should be much smaller because it's only that one line of text. Okay, so I have that in there. Now let's go back over here and see what happens when we hit refresh. There we go. So I hit refresh, and it favors, you notice I didn't have to get rid of quickstart.html. It actually favors the index file. It knows to look for that first, and if it exists, it shows it first. And so now it's showing this is a test. So that's it. I've got my stuff uploaded. If I want to download this file, I would do it to a different directory, obviously, but let me rename this and just rename it to index1 and download it. So I do the same thing. I right click the file and I click download, or I can double click it. So in this case, let's double click. So I double click that file, it downloaded it to my local site. So this is my hard drive over here. That's all there is to it. So pretty simple to upload, download things. You can also change file permissions and things like that. That's a little more advanced, but it's also pretty easy. You can see the permissions over here. This is 0644. And I can right click and I can actually do file permissions down at the bottom. So if I needed to be able to execute certain files, I can choose those options. So I could say 755 to execute for anybody, or so forth. So you know, everybody is every file is a little bit different, and you'll have to know what you're doing. It's pretty advanced to know what to do with the permissions and things like that. But another cool thing you can do right within the website here, right within the remote side, without even worrying about your local side, is you can right click and create a new directory, and let's call it test. And then I can go inside that directory and I can right click and create a new file, and let's call it index.html. So the reason it didn't edit with my notepad is it's an HTML file, and see the little icon there is that little Google Chrome icon. So that means it's going to use the default program to open it, which the default program is Google Chrome, obviously. So in this case, I'm going to just download that file. So I double click it, and once I have it down in my local, downloaded into my local folder, then I can edit it with my web editor and add content to it and so forth. So let's just do that really quick right now. Let's open up Dreamweaver. Okay, so I'm just going to say this is the test folder and save that, exit out of that guy. And this is kind of cool. So this actually just realized that I changed the index.html file over here, and it wants to know if I want to upload it. So it's a pretty smart little program, and I'm going to say yes, and it's uploaded it to the server. And now if I go to /test, there it is. This is the test folder, and it's loaded up. Okay, so that's it. I think that's the basics. It kind of covers how to use your basic FTP client to upload, download files, do some pretty simple things like adding a directory or moving around. You know, if you want to move up directory, you just hit those double dots, and that's it. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll wrap things up, and I'll see you over there.